The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on a break!
with Ambar Garcia, Bryan Broaddus, Nick Harris, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Monday, October 21st, 2024, Season 20, Episode number 51. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by LG. LG is the world's #1 OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. CY at LG.com/OLED Evo. Welcome to the show. We got our guys here with us. Amber's out. She's handling some business for the team, traveling, but she'll be back tomorrow. Till then, though, today it's up to us to get you guys, restarted here. We had a nice little quiet break here with the bye week. Cowboys didn't play yesterday, so that was a nice moment just to sit back.
They didn't lose yesterday.
No, it was a nice moment to sit back and watch some football.
It was.
It's always nice in a bye week when you work in the sport to be able to sit and watch other teams and just kind of get a feel for the rest of the NFL. It's a lot of fun, actually. It rekindles your love of NFL football.
Makes you wonder why you work for the Cowboys.
I don't know if it made me do that, but it did make me enjoy.
Well, I mean, when you have
NFL
to cover
football.
it every day.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
that's not working for the Cowboys. Working for the Cowboys is fine.
Yeah,
it's working where you get to pay attention to other teams.
Yeah,
which is kind of fun. But then you realize how much you really do like football when it's like you're not on the line.
Yeah, right. When you can just enjoy the game and not really be like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, you don't have to sweat whether third down conversion or fourth down conversions.
Yeah, it just reminds me of the day will come when I'll retire from this, and I will be able to get back to sitting in my lounger and watching some games and napping in between.
You got a
having
long
some
way
food.
to go, bro.
I do have a little ways to go.
Commercial-free football.
Yeah, I have a little ways to go, but that day will be glorious.
I never knew how much fun Red Zone was.
Man,
you can watch. I can't really get into it because I want to see the storyline of the game develop as the game goes along.
It's interesting just from the aspect of the action.
Yeah,
but I'm with
feel
you.
that.
I'm with you on the storyline stuff. But when I watch Red Zone, I get a headache because it happens. It's going so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find difficulty in figuring out the P breaks and red zone. Yeah, that's
like give me a break. I need a break.
Exactly. I try to get it out of the way in the first half of that noon slate because then for about 4.5 straight hours, it's full on action. But no, it was really good. It was some really good games yesterday too.
Yeah,
in the noon slate and in the 3:25. It was a good day to be off. I think I tweeted it out yesterday. I was like, this is a really good Sunday to be at the crib.
Yeah, and the night game even ended up being intriguing just because again the storylines and how the game developed. That was a fun game to watch as well. So I enjoyed some NFL football yesterday. Didn't enjoy college as much on the weekend, but it happens. You have a rough weekend and you just kind of rebound. Congratulations to your LSU Tigers. You guys are moving along. Should be fun this weekend. You got A&M coming up.
Yeah, as you're starting to understand, the Southeastern Conference can be no fun.
Yeah. You have some Sundays, Saturdays like that. Yeah,
there's days where you think you're like in good shape, and then the next thing you know, you're completely falling apart. I think that's the SEC in general.
Exactly.
That's a great thing about college football too. I think with the all the transfers and the NIL stuff, and I think there's a lot more of these matchups where teams are even. There's no more. There's haves and have-nots. Don't get me wrong, but the have-nots are because of the transfer portals have kind of made a little bit of a jump where they're very, very competitive in a lot of these games. So college football has been a lot of fun to watch this year.
It has, and I enjoy it. Even in a loss, you still enjoy the pageantry and the competition of college football. I really do. I enjoy it.
How'd you enjoy that $250,000 fine for throwing bottles?
Hey, man, it got us the call, so, pay it up. We got the money.
I was trying
we
to
got
think,
the money, man.
Oh, I know you do. It's just funny. It's kind of an SEC rule.
Yeah.
You take the goalpost down, they charge you. It's
right.
kind of the fine. That's what they always charge. It's always. But I was curious. You mentioned with a reverse call in a game, and I know we'll get to this quick, the NFL stuff. But I was trying to think of the last time I saw a reverse call during the game, and I think it was the Detroit playoff game against Dallas. Did they have an interference call that it was on one of the linebackers? They had a pass interference call.
Okay.
And it got reversed, and it was in the playoff game. And it was the game that Romo drove down and I think threw the ball to Witten, and I think it was a game-winning touchdown. But I was trying to remember, it was one of the linebackers that got called for pass interference or defensive holding, and then they reversed the call. Initially call on the field, and then they reversed. And then Dallas, I think it was Damon Wilson that might have been called for holding in the game, and they reversed it. I was trying to think, when's the last time I saw officials completely flip a call after the call was made?
That one was wild because when that first bottle was thrown onto the field, Carson Beck and the Georgia offense, they were getting ready to take the snap. Like that, it would have stood if that didn't happen. So I think the SEC set a very bad precedent, and I wonder how they kind of approach that this week and if they lay the hammer down on Texas a little bit harder. But
they gave him $250,000. They gave him $250,000 fine.
Yeah, that's the max. They have a. I think it happened in 2021. They kind of have a. That's kind of their standard number. When you do something wrong, like the band plays the song they're not supposed to play, it's $250,000.
Y'all done that before, huh?
Yeah, it's like they give you this amount, it's kind of crazy how they handle things in the SEC.
But I don't mind the reverse, and I know it sounds like, okay, you're a Texas guy. Honestly, in any game, I don't mind a reversal if the call is right. I'm a big believer in have the eye in the sky that's watching all these games like the rest of us and has the benefit of seeing that replay and being like, whoa, yeah, guys, we messed this one up. Let's get it right. Because at the end of the day, I just want it to be right. I want the games to be called as close to perfect as possible, right? And so I don't mind if you, after the fact, decide, that was a bad call. Let's pick up that flag. Especially a play like that. That was such a big moment in the game.
Yeah, I was telling the people that I was watching the game with at the time, I was like, these officials probably looked at it and said, hey, we're going to have to answer to this anyway.
Yeah.
We may as well get the call right.
Right.
So as weird as that was, and as probably not beneficial to Georgia it was the right call at the end of the day. But yeah, that's fascinating. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, I was texting back and forth with Patrick during the game, and I think he even kind of agreed, yeah, that's probably the right call.
Yeah.
Like he had a couple calls he didn't like, but I don't think he wasn't arguing that one too much. He was okay with that. All right, let's jump in. Let's talk a little Cowboys football. We're going to start first today. I guess a lot of our early part of our show, and by the way, real quick, we're going to also take some calls in the second and third segments of the show, so you can call us at 888-855-2297. Again, 888-855-2297. Feel free to go ahead and light up those phone lines, and we'll get to those calls a little later in the show. But I think the tenor of today's show is really about, as Mike McCarthy says, the second trimester. What is Dallas going to do now that they've completed the first trimester? They've had a break. They've had a chance to absorb what's happened, and now they have to move on and try to learn from that and be better in the next trimester of the season. That being said, let's start first with Mike McCarthy, and he had some comments this morning about how they practice. And he was saying, I think the point of it was that he thinks they need to practice better, not necessarily harder. He says, their analytics tell them the team is practicing harder than it has in the past. They just may not be as crisp. They just may not be as detailed, as disciplined as maybe they need to be during practice. What are your thoughts on that, and maybe what that means as far as the team's ability to play in the way that they need to play? Yeah,
I'll say one thing. Mike McCarthy's a big morning person because, man, he was giving us all the good stuff this morning in the 9 a.m. press conference. But I had asked the question about practice because before they went on the bye break, Dak Prescott was talking about how guys are only showing up on Sundays. They need to take the preparation during the week a little bit more serious. And then McCarthy, like you said, had said that guys were practicing hard, not necessarily well. So I followed up on that, and I was like, all the evaluation that's come over the course of the last week at the bye week, he said he was here every day. Did you guys take a look at practice and how you guys are approaching that, and is there any tweaks to that? And he said that they are going to be approaching practice with a lot more group work. They're getting away from the one-on-ones, more 2-on-2, 3-on-3s, and then the 9-on-7 stuff that we see during combination team periods that we saw at training camp. They're going to ramp that up a little bit more in the team period as well. So focusing more on group work, and that had kind of stood out from something earlier that he had said about meeting work as well. They want guys in group meetings, less individual meetings, because I guess I could see it from his perspective being, okay, if we're having all these individual meetings, then all the guys are not getting the same message. So group meetings, it allows everybody to be under one cohesive umbrella as far as coaching points and things of that nature. So maybe that's kind of the approach that they're taking post-bye week here. But there was a lot of evaluation taken in the building over the course of the last week, and he was actually really complimentary of a lot of guys that had been in the building every day in the last week as well.
Yeah, that's you never want to hear that. You never want to hear that they're not practicing well. There's times when, you're going to have a bad practice. Maybe maybe your team's just so beat up, you're just not into it. You got back off a trip. There's a lot of things going on too, because, and a lot of it has to do too with the way you lose. If you're practicing, and it's really easy to practice when things are going good, but when you're getting, right now this team's 3-3, and the 3 losses have looked awful, and I think that, you think, wow, a lot of injuries, they're good to get it to this point and all that. It's really not, and then you add that to you're getting beat up, and then you're not practicing well. And now you start to lead to other conversations like, well, why aren't we practicing well? What's the issues there? Is leading to not practicing well? Is what's causing you not to play well? I don't like to hear that. And I kind of feel like they're looking for answers. The answers that I want to hear are, with like, to me, I don't think it's always the scheme when you're talking about what's going on with the defense a little bit. I think they're physically just getting beat up, and whatever you have to do to rectify that, that's where I would start. I don't think you could practice physicality like they did back in the day. Mm-hmm. That things I don't know if things, even by them talking about it and talking about more group in this, I don't know if it's necessarily going to help. I think this team really is who they are when it comes to how they play, when it comes to playing defense. I think they lack that, and it's not toughness. They just don't have that ability to take people on that play in a way that makes that they use big personnel and blockers and stuff. They're just not built that way. They're built to rush the passer, and they just can't get anybody into a game where they can just rush the passer. They got the Cleveland Browns into it, but I don't know if anything practice-wise is going to make this any different than what they really are.
Well, one thing he did say as an example was something that we've talked about a lot on this show. He said, you start 2 rookie offensive linemen week 1. They've been stunting and gaming us since we got off the bus. We've been practicing, but not enough. And I think that is one area that if you're not doing enough of that type of tandem work, group work, if you're spending most of your time in one-on-ones when you got offensive line versus defensive line, maybe you're not going to be as well prepared for handling some of those games, some of those stunts when you have so many guys changing in and out of the offensive line. Plus, you add in the inexperience of the offensive line. Do you think that's an area that more group work could actually make a difference?
Well, they practice in team, and they, if you're playing against somebody that moves the front. When we break down the opponent, we always talk about, there's a twist front. And what are the things when we talk about BB, we always say, and this has gone back from 2-3 weeks ago, he doesn't handle the twist front. Right. And now all of a sudden, everybody's like, we need more work on the twist front. Why weren't you working on twist front in week 2, week 3, when teams were actually doing that? I'm sitting there watching the tape, and I'm like, the one problem that BB has is he gets too involved with pushing a guy. We talk about these linemen that push a guy down, and then they go to the next level. And we said this about BB. Hey, he gets too involved. He gets too involved. Well, here we are in week 7, and now we're talking about it as we're seeing more of that. It's something that needed to be done, 3 weeks ago. Because me personally, I saw it 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. If you ask me what was one problem with Cooper Beebe, he doesn't handle the twist stunts very well. And now all of a sudden it's like, we're seeing a lot more twist fronts. Yeah, because you didn't work on it 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. And now Team C, that's a problem for you.
Yeah, and and now it's like, and you wonder how like when they have pressure, it's usually something with moving the front. And so you would think, like, why not get ahead of that and say, hey, listen, our center's a rookie. We've got to work on him not going down inside and taking those guys because he's leaving a gap. He's leaving a big area inside there. So this is something to me that when you're not practicing well, I understand it, because 3 weeks ago, you could have got that right. It couldn't, you could take, teams are going to do things to you when you're not very good at it. Watch what's going to happen this week, even though they don't have Brandon Ayuk and all that. Detroit is the number one team in the league for running in-breaking routes. What do you think San Francisco is going to do to you? You didn't cover one in-breaking route the other day. Mm-hmm. Not one. They are going to sit there and say, wow, this team can't. Safeties, linebackers, they don't do this. But this is something that you've seen with this team, and now they're talking about it. And we need to work on. Well, why wouldn't you work on it 3 weeks ago when it looked like it was going to be an issue? That's the thing that drives me nuts.
Yeah, I in my bye-week evaluation of everything, I look at the middle of this defense, the spine of this defense, as the core problem of all the issues that are happening. I think if you had a defensive tackle that was playing up to a first-round caliber selection, and then you had better safety play on the back end, I think the middle's been fine. I was talking about the linebackers, but if you had those two positions just playing just a notch better, I think you're a 4-2 or even a 5-1 team at this point. There's been multiple games so far, multiple games last year where the middle of that defense was just getting exposed. And I think I'm probably I have to take on some ownership in some sense because I thought it was an issue last year of just not having enough linebackers. I thought it was, a linebacker depth problem, and they fixed that. And I think that's where all my confidence kind of stemmed from coming out of training camp. Is like, I think this defense is going to be pretty good because the biggest problem they had last year has been solved, and it's the linebacker depth. But they lost depth at the defensive tackle position and didn't anticipate the safeties playing as poorly as they have been early in this season. So if those two positions can get it figured out, then I believe that they can figure out some of these issues. And that could be a practice thing too.
Yeah.
You get those guys more involved in team settings as well, because you need Mozzie Smith taking on those doubles out here. Mm-hmm. You need Mozzie Smith taking on multiple bodies so that he understands that that's going to be the case whenever they're trying to blow him off the line on Sunday, whether it's Jordan Mason, Christian McCaffrey, or whoever. So I could more team periods benefit this team overall? Absolutely. But it would have to be with the right application.
Yeah, see, the team period too is also when you watch the offense work, and I talked about this last week. It's like, I guarantee you they ran that route that got intercepted with Lamb when Branch was sinking. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you, I told you this, they ran this thing 3 times in practice. And it's like, they kept telling the corner, okay, read it, read the underneath. And Dak's throwing it, read the underneath. And then you get a guy that's like a real NFL football player that like, I'm not throwing that route short. What's coming out behind me? And then I'm just going to sink. That's where you get in trouble. You practice stuff and you're thinking, like the quarterback might be thinking, well, this throw in practice was open all week. Mm-hmm. That's the throw. That's where I need to go. And then it doesn't. You're going, well, what happened there? Well, all week long, you told the quarterback that guy's gonna bite on the crossing route. He's not gonna sink. Well, what he does, he sinks. So sometimes the way you practice and the way you prep and the way you show the scout team looks and stuff can really F you up in these games. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How you practice. It's not just, it's a mental side of it too. Your scout team, hey, that's what made the Patriots so good when they had back in the day with Ernie Adams and stuff. And they're running a defense like in the Super Bowl. They're running a defense. Here the Seahawks are going to try and throw the inside, and they ran a defense. And Ernie Adams and them worked on that. They saw like 3 years ago. Before that, they ran this route. This is what they did, and they practiced that. That's the kind of stuff, when you're putting your scout team together, your preparation for the game, that's where you win games. Mm-hmm. When you go back and you say, hey, this is how we needed to prep. And I think that's the physical side of it seems fine. The getting the mental side or the preparation of what they're seeing might be off in these games.
All right, we're going to take our first break. We're going to come back. We had some interesting comments that we heard at the end of last week from Troy Aikman about the wide receiver core. We'll talk about that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly, and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to the break.
LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take our word for it. Digital Trends said the LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo. My goodness.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Morgan Studios at the Star. This segment brought to you by blockchain.com.
Pete Morelli.
Yeah.
Pete Morelli, 2015.
That was the call that was picked up you were talking about.
Yeah, that was the call. Yeah. It was Anthony Hitchens.
Yeah.
On Brandon Pettigrew.
Good memory, Brian. You said a linebacker.
Yeah, I thought I was one of those linebackers. Yeah. It was Hitchens. It was Pete Morelli. They actually, really quick, the back judge threw his flag for defensive pass interference. Morelli told Todd Archer, we got information from another official from a different angle. He thought the contact was minimal and didn't warrant pass interference. He thought it was face guarding. So that's kind of where that one went. So. Yeah. Anyway,
like I said, I got no problems with the pickup.
Yeah.
Pick up the flag if it's wrong, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Pick up the flag.
Get the call right. Get the call right.
Exactly
Face guarding is a penalty in college football, but not in the NFL.
Yep.
So.
All right, let's jump back in. I guess it was maybe Thursday or Friday of last week. I think it was Friday maybe when Troy Aikman had the comments. He was on the ticket here in Dallas, and his comments were, I think the routes are terrible, talking about the wide receiver group. I think they run terrible routes, and I've thought that beyond this year. I think CD has got to improve in his route running as a quarterback. If you're not certain where guys are going to be consistently, it's hard to play the position. That's what I see. I see guys lazy coming off the line of scrimmage. Sometimes they run. Usually if they do, it's because they're anticipating they're going to get the football on that play. But if they're not, they don't. And it all ties together. I'm not impressed with that part of it. Now, Mike McCarthy did respond to that this morning in the press conference. He was asked about those comments. His response was, they don't carry any weight with me because I watch all the tape. I get to go to the meetings. I'm at practice. I'm part of the games. So I have a clear understanding of what and where. Troy's statement in particular, I don't agree with the word selection. There is definitely need for improvement in every position, not just one position that he commented on. Do you agree with Troy's comments based on the study that you guys have done of the film and looking at these wide receivers?
I do personally. I think he hit it on the nod. I think with the disconnection that we've seen between Dak and CD, I don't think 100% of that can be attributed to there not being enough time to establish that connection. I think at the end of the day, there is a scheme in place that makes this offense very predictable. And I think it starts with the route running. These guys, they run short routes across the field, and it's easy to throw off the rhythm of those guys. And we saw that against Detroit, where these linebackers and these DBs, they were able to just put enough contact on them, and it disrupted the entire route because they don't really have anything complex that goes into their route schemes to where they can bounce off of that and make something happen from it. So I think Aikman was right. And then McCarthy, he's going to defend his guys. So, I mean, he's not going to sit there and say, yeah, he was right, whether he believes it or not. But I think at the end of the day, there does have to be a little bit more intention put on making these routes more complex. I mean, one of the biggest things I took away from watching football all day yesterday is watching Detroit, watching Green Bay, watching Houston. These guys, these are complex offensive schemes. These guys, they know how to scheme these guys open, and it just kind of reminded me of how the Cowboys are not necessarily there. They got there at a certain point last year, I think, down the stretch. But I think all in all, there needs to be more intention put in that area.
I like what you said, and I respect the heck out of Detroit. I think you have a team that doesn't have really great route runners.
That's probably a product as well.
I don't think that when the route running, I think when you put CeeDee Lamb at Oklahoma was a player, when you put him on the move, that's when he thrived. Mm-hmm. But if you ask CeeDee Lamb to run precise routes, that doesn't always happen. Doesn't always happen with Tolbert. The guy that has the best route runner you ever had here, and in my opinion, was Amari Cooper. Mm-hmm. When you watch it, how it was explode, plant, break, settle, explode. He had an idea for how to set a defensive back up. I don't think Dallas has. Maybe Brandon Cooks, but he is smaller. He's quicker. These guys,
and they don't really use him like that. And in a lot of ways, the routes they ask him to run.
Yeah. That was part of what I was about to come back. But you're right. Well. He's running comeback routes outside the numbers.
82%, and I looked this up. 82% of Dallas's routes that they had the most success on is the hitch. Hmm. That doesn't require any real route running there, does it?
It sounds like Kellen Moore's offense too.
It doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, it's very simplistic.
Yeah.
But if you look at Dak, 52% of his passes on crosses and ends are completed. 52%. So just half of those. Mm-hmm. But when you throw those routes inside, are guys really running? Are those guys running those routes with any kind of, that's what I'm saying. That's why a guy like Cooks, Cooper, those kinds of guys, those are route runners. You watch some guys around the league, and you watch their ability to get off the line, to explode, come to balance, boom, inside. I mean, one of my favorite highlights of Amari Cooper was on a throw against the Giants, where he's he's isolated to the left side, and he walks off the line, and now he's got the DB like, whoa, what's this guy doing? Walk, bam, inside. Yeah. I mean, hey, it's like I'm setting you up. Yeah, I'm not letting you know where. I don't think Dallas has anybody that does that. I don't think Dallas has any type of guy that if you asked him to, that's why this team leads the league in tight window catches and tight window throws. They don't separate.
It's because it's the only time
they don't run routes in order to separate. And that's talent. I mean, I say it's talent, but that's how you're made up. You look downfield players, high point players, traffic players, sure. But when you said go run a route to separate to get open, who you got?
So let me ask you this. It's obvious that they were able to last year in the second half of the year get a lot out of this receiving core because this offense was clicking. And obviously those are some of the same receivers that weren't able to run great routes back then if that's just who they are. What was the difference last year to this year as far as their ability to make the offense work?
I have no idea. It might have been opponents you were playing, though, too, in coverage. I mean, I need to go back and look at that. I just know right now when I watch this team play, I just don't see. And I have the utmost respect for people who evaluate this, and Troy Aikman and guys like that, gals that evaluate it, too. I have the utmost respect. I just don't see a group, and I need to go back and look at somebody. Okay, what routes are they having success on? Like I said, they're having success on the hitches and things like that. The in-cut routes, In-cut routes to me are the routes that you have to be able to go up and then break and then have that separation. If you're at 50% throwing those routes, that's not very good. I mean, we watched Detroit. You mentioned Detroit. They punish you on that stuff.
Mm-hmm. I'd be curious to know what the slant numbers to CD last year were. Because of those 135 receptions he had last year, it probably feels like 50 of them were on in-breaking slants. I mean, it was him lining up in the slot, outside, didn't matter. 3 steps out and then break in, and Dak was putting it on the numbers. But I think that's easy to identify. It's easy to defend, especially if you're expecting it many times. And I think these guys are just putting a little bit more physicality on them in coverage, and it's throwing off the timing. Because we've talked about, or Mike McCarthy has talked about trying to operate under that 2.3 threshold from snap to throw. Well, if you're throwing off these receivers with physicality in that 2.3, they're not going to get it off in that 2.3. That means this offense is operating outside of their structure. So I think that's more of a product of what we've seen so far. And then also Cook's not being at 100% health, and then he's been out these last couple of games. The only time you have seen north to south action in this offense is throwing a jump ball. It's like, okay, Tolbert's down there. Let's go grab one, kid. And it's yeah, it's just it's not how you want to operate a passing offense. And it's interesting too, because I think McCarthy can be better as far as scheming these guys open, because we've seen it the last couple of years in that sense. So do they need a guy that can separate? Like if they were to go draft one next year, absolutely. They need a guy that can separate. That's unquestioned. But I also think there's a little bit on the play caller to scheme these guys open a little bit better. Real quick before our break, we got a phone call from Anthony in New Jersey. He wants to talk about the wide receiver route running. What's up, Anthony?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Long time listener. You guys are great.
Thank you,
Brian. You like every time you like educate me on this game, and I just want to thank you for it, because I've been listening to you for years. It's just that, my question is the same thing happened last year. These the season starts off slow, then they go into the bye, and then they come out of the bye and they come out like world beaters. And it's kind of happening this year. Like, what are these guys doing wrong that I don't understand? Like, what are they doing that they're getting knocked off routes, or they're not, or like Troy Aikman said, they're lazy off the line of scrimmage? And thanks, guys, and I'll take your comments off the air.
All right, thanks for the call. Yeah, I think we'll find out this weekend. He says it looks like that's how it's playing out this week. I don't know. We're going to see. Like, they played San Francisco last year before the bye. Yeah. They're coming out of a bye this week, having to go to San Francisco. We will see if they're able to create some of that same magic that they were able to create last year coming off the bye, coming out of this bye. This year's version of that San Francisco game last year just happened against Detroit. So, I mean, there's going to have to be a lot of evaluation out of that game to try and apply. But I would say the biggest difference that I saw last year, Mike McCarthy says he splits up the season in trimesters. And at the end of the first trimester, which is after the end of the first 6 games, they do a big evaluation period. That's what went into this bye week this last week. What worked last year was just integrating pre-snap motion. Mm-hmm. Which they seem to go back to not doing it. The problems on this team are not complex. Yeah. That's what's so frustrating, I think, for the fans.
What if I told you that their yards per play is better without motion than with motion?
This year specifically? Yeah. I still want to see it more.
What if I told you the Green Bay Packers yards per play is better without motion than with motion?
That's a completely different separate unit.
I told you...
Those are receivers that can get open.
What if I told you the San Francisco 49ers... yards per play is better without motion than with motion?
Do you think this team would be better with motion, though? Granted, because these guys are so stationary.
It's an argument. I was dying on your hill too. I went up and looked at this stuff, and you look at the teams that are heavy motion teams. Their yards per play without motion, in a lot of cases, is better than with, like, the Green Bay Packers. The delta between their motion and their non-motion is staggering.
But let me ask you this. Could that also be a situation where, because there is motion in their offense, they're able to still create those opportunities when there's not motion, that they can still get great plays out of not running motion?
It just tells me they got great players.
But the point is they still run a lot of motion. Those teams use a lot of motion in their offense.
But their yards per play...
fair. But I'm saying, though... I don't think you can just assume that means that the motion isn't important. Those teams run a lot of motion, and so the question becomes: is their offense just overall more efficient because they run more motion?
That's what I would. I think their offense is just efficient because of the quarterback, the line, and the receivers. That's where I kind of feel like it is. Play caller, quarterback, these teams that have that ability to make plays when they don't have to use motion. I trust me, I want to see motion. But if it's surprising to look at the teams that lead the league in motion, but then look at yards per play without motion, and you're like going, what? You would figure like Green Bay, big motion team.
Yep.
Big motion team. But much better when they play stationary than they do with motion. Or their yards per play would tell you that when they don't run motion, that their yards, they might average 7.5 yards without motion and 6.5 with motion.
The thing that I think about and that's a very interesting point that you bring up, Brian, but the thing I think about with that is this team doesn't have...
I don't know if it's end-all be-all. That's what I'm saying.
This team doesn't have a problem with sustaining drives, with moving down the field. It's about finishing the drives and finding the big play. And I think if they integrated more motion into this offense, they could start finding those big plays a little bit more, both in the run game and in the pass game. So I'd be curious to know what those numbers stand up against whenever you're looking at big play opportunities. And I think if you could just find some big plays for this offense, then you can make things work. The only north to south big play that this team has really found this year was that ball on the left sideline to CD, and that was still thrown with two guys in the area, and CD was able to kind of come off of it and make a 55-yard touchdown off of it.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's been a lot of east to west type action.
Packers' success. Trust me, I love motion. If your receivers aren't good route runners, you better put them in motion. Okay, if they can't win off the line,
or if you have one guy who's clearly better than everybody else, and you don't have a lot else, you probably need to put him in motion.
Green Bay's play success with no motion is right at 55%. Their play with motion success is right at 39%. So you have 39% motion success, and with no motion, they're at 53%. Their play success.
Here's what I will tell you. I think it was 2 to 3 weeks ago, I heard Luke Kuechly, who's a respected former linebacker. I know, but I'm just saying what he said, and he was asked the question, how much does motion affect the defense? And he was like, that is the single thing for a defense that makes playing defense substantially harder. Because the moment you think you know what's going to happen because you got to look, everything can change, and you have to then adjust on the fly. And everybody on the defense has to have the same thought when they see the motion of what's adjusting on the fly. And so he said, he says it doesn't mean it's insurmountable.
Right.
He said good teams figure it out, good defenses figure it out. He said, but it is a part of playing defense that complicates things. And so when you're playing a team that uses a lot of motion, your preparation has to be on point. You have to prepare a lot harder, a lot better to play those types of offenses, and maybe that's just a part of it. Again, it's not saying it's the end-all, be-all. It's saying it just complicates things. It gives you a little bit more of an edge going into that game than if you're not using motion, where defense can just see the look and then adjust to it.
It makes it more unpredictable. And this offense, unfortunately, suffers from
it's the scheme. It's clearly the scheme here. Because it's funny because, like I say, I look at this, Detroit, no motion yard per play, 7.4. Motion, 6.3. They're averaging 1.1 yard more a play without motion than they are with motion. But you look at the Lions, the way their ability to run the football and their ability to hit those crossing routes, it's just amazing. I mean, to me, it's funny, these teams, because I always thought I thought motion was end all be all. I really, really did. But then I'm starting to look at these teams that I respect their offense, and I'm going, man, maybe it's just they got better players.
Well, how often are the big play percentages happening within the motion? That was my question in response to this, because I don't think the Cowboys have problems sustaining drives. They can get the yards per play. It's about finding the big play. And I think with these teams that are integrating motion, whenever they integrate heavy motion, it's trying to scheme up the big play. So either they take the shot and they don't get it, or they take the shot and they do get it. And I would be curious to know what the percentage looks like as far as how often motion is being successfully run. Because I think that kind of takes away from the yards per play. I think that could
successfully
be
run with bigger plays is what you're saying.
Right, exactly.
Like the bigger plays come from that more frequently, but the percentage may be less.
Exactly.
You just got a bigger play.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just funny that, to me, like I said, that Green Bay the difference is 14% between their successful plays and their not successful plays with and without motion.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and I have one question for you guys about the NFC East, particularly about the Giants and the Washington Commanders. We'll talk about that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a Pepper thing.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T, connecting changes everything.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Let's go into this real quick. We don't have a lot of time left here, but I wanted to ask you guys about the NFC East. Yesterday, both the Giants and both the Eagles and the Commanders get commanding wins against their opponents yesterday. And as I'm watching the games, I'm looking at Saquon like, man, this he's a beast. I don't know if this looks like prime Saquon Barkley. And then you look at the Commanders, and although he got hurt yesterday, you still look at what Jaden Daniels is being able to do this year, particularly what he's doing on the ground, in addition to the passes he's making, but what he's doing on the ground. And I thought to myself, which one would be scarier for a Dallas defense that is having a hard time being able to consistently stop the run, having to deal with Saquon Barkley, who runs it his way, versus Jaden Daniels as a quarterback who runs it a little differently but still gets big-time results. What do you guys think?
I think they're both scary, but I think Saquon, if he's running like he did yesterday, there's not many teams in the NFL that can beat that. It takes the pressure off of the passing offense.
That's what I'd say, man. What Jalen Hurts will make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
The kid in Washington, he ain't going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. He's not. He protects the football. Yeah. He scrambles around. He'll throw it away. He's deadly accurate. You know, if you take away, say, Philadelphia running the ball and make Jalen Hurts, we've seen Jalen Hurts mess up games at the end, throw interceptions. You know, Barkley scares me far worse than what the guy does. That guy at the Commanders, that OC there, Kingsbury, he's resuscitated his career. Yeah, he's figured out how to run the football with his scheme. He never was able to run the football great with his scheme.
Fair point.
And now he's kind of figured it out because he's got a quarterback that knows how to do it. You know, and the quarterback he's thin and all that, and everybody's like, oh, he's frail, he's bad. No, the kid knows how to protect himself. Yeah, he'll take some hits, but he'll get out of bounds, get down. He does what he has to do. But Barkley running the ball takes Jalen Hurts out of the game. And that's if you're playing the Eagles. you're kind of counting on him throwing an interception or two.
Yeah, and that was yesterday without their starting left tackle, who's a really good player.
Jordan Mailata.
Yeah, and he's out now on IR, so he's going to miss at least 4 weeks.
3 more weeks.
So I think that to me was as impressive as anything else that they did that without their starting left tackle.
Yeah. Real quick, can I tell you something?
Sure.
Motion touchdowns, Jets 4, the Browns 3, Cowboys 3, Broncos 3. Those are the bottom 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know about Aaron Rodgers? Hates motion.
Hates motion, yeah.
Where did this coach come from? Hates motion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You got that.
And tell us the upper end of that. You mentioned that before. The teams that are at the top of the league. What are they getting?
18.
Yeah, 18.
Yeah. That's the Lions. The 49ers who you're about to play, they have 13 motion touchdowns.
Yeah.
But the top teams in the league have 18.
Yeah.
That would be the Bills at 18, the Lions at 18, the Packers at 18. How about the Saints at 16?
Yeah,
they started off so hot, and then it just kind of all fell apart. Yeah, it all fell apart on them. Yeah. All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Brian's going to have some I think we're going to go in the
more
mind
motion
of
talk.
Bryan Broaddus tomorrow. and then Wednesday, we'll get you guys ready. We'll start looking forward to the next game, Cowboys versus 49ers. Till then, for Nick Harris, Bryan Broaddus, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.